the 2016 census, only 15 residents of Middleton identified as Black. Many people do not know that there was once a large and thriving Black community here, largely concentrated on North Street in the heart of the town, and to the west on Brooklyn Street in what was known as Lower Middleton. The earliest records of Black families here go back to the mid-1800s. Residents of North Street and Brooklyn Street came together to form a vibrant and resilient community. A community that worked together, played together, and took care of each other. In this video, members of the community sit down together to reflect on growing up here, with the goal of preserving this important history for future generations.
Hello, my name is Josephine Morrison. I was born in Middleton, in Lower Middleton on Brooklyn Street. I grew up in Middleton and got my education here and in Halifax. I worked in Middleton as a lab technologist, which is what I was trained to do. And after I did my internship, I took advantage of the opportunity to move out west and get a job there with the intention of moving out west and then working my way back here so that I could see some of the country. That didn't happen. I stayed out in British Columbia for 25 years. I got married out there. I became a widow out there. And when I decided to retire, I decided to come back here to live. And I'm very happy that I did. So this is home. This will always be home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my name is Rhoda White, and I was born in Middleton, lived here all my life. I'm a mother of 11 children, and what else? I owned and operated Cuddles Kitty Daycare in Middleton for a number of years. And I've did so many things over the years. I mean, I've worked at the hospital canteen and in the rink canteen, and I've been in so many different organizations and things. I was on the Middleton School Board, the Annapolis County School Board for a number of years, and I was on the social services, and so many different things I've done. It's hard to name them all, but I've worked in the community, and I've been a member of our North Street Ladies Auxiliary for a number of years, and not much more I can say. I know I've done a lot of things, but anything like that, but
You
no.
were a deacon at the...
Pardon?
You were a deacon at
Oh yes, I am also a deacon. Middleton Baptist Church has made a deacon, so yeah.
Hi, my name is Theresa Character, and I'm a transplant. I came to Nova Scotia in 1977 as a missionary, and our ministry is called Genesis Christian Ministries, a part of How Christ Will Travel Ministries of Philadelphia. And I came up here to work at the Bethel Bible Camp with the children, and we moved in this community, North Street community, and I have been accepted here and loved here and feel right at home here for the last 44 years. So that's why I'm a part of the North Street Chapel and everything that goes on. I try to be a part of it. So I love living here and I love the people and I just feel great. I feel right at home. So I'm glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Gail Smith, and I wasn't born in Middleton, but I moved here when I was 2. So in my formative years, I went to school here, graduated from here. After school, I too went out west, and I lived out there for 20 years. And then when I came back, I was an ORT out west, which doesn't really matter to anybody, but they don't have them in Nova Scotia. So I had to go back to school, so I went back to the vocational school and took my licensed practical nurse. And I worked at the hospital for 15 years, the Middleton Hospital for 15 years. And I am very glad to be home. My mom just lives next door here. She's 94. And I have a sister that lives in the city. I have a brother that lives in Greenwood, and I have another brother that just lives outside of town. So I was the only one that was ever away. So now that we're all together, we always have our family gatherings at my house, and I'm happy to be back. I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. Since moving back, I've become a counselor for the town of Middleton. Also, right now, I'm the deputy mayor of Middleton. I sit on the museum board, and I sit on the Valley Waste board, and I do a lot of things with the kids at the school. So, and I'm just happy to be home. Is that's Uncle Percy's house. Is it the one again?
I'm gonna change and put it on that table for Sunday.
Sure, yes, yes.
No, it's.
No, it's the churches. I bought it for the church.
Wow.
I wanted that. Welcome to North Street Chapel. This chapel was built in 1909 and was dedicated to the communities of Lower Middleton and North Street in
Church
1910.
was established in cooperation with Middleton Baptist Church in town. They had meetings whereby they formed a committee to help build this building, and that's how North Street Chapel came to be here. The land was donated by Mr. Talbert, who lives next door, and I believe one of the people that helped in the organizing all that was named Mr. Fales.
Yes.
Since then, the building originally was just these rooms, and then later on, in when 1990 that you decided to do a daycare? The church was closed off and on over the years. And then it was closed for a time, and then Rhoda approached the trustees, and she opened a daycare. And when she opened the daycare, then this extension was put onto the building. So do you want to talk about what you went through to establish the daycare?
Well, I had my qualifications to start my own nursery school, so anyway, I did approach the board members and asked them if I could use this for my nursery school, and if I didn't have to pay rent, and I would, keep the upkeep of it. I would look after the building, like that. And so that's what happened. So I have my nursery school here for, how many years now? Something like 10 years maybe, something like that, and it was really nice. And then, okay, excuse me.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and after that, and some of us ladies talked about it, we thought, when I closed my nursing school, we thought, gee, maybe we should turn it back into a church again. And so that's sort of what happened. We got together and we opened it to a church again.
So they still have a very active ladies auxiliary,
Yes.
which originally started in 1944. And it was much larger at that time because so many people have passed away now, and they're limited to how many people? 7 people now. Where probably before was maybe 20 or 25. So they're the ones that do all the work for the church now. They have church here the second and fourth Sundays of the month. They have their ladies auxiliary once a month, and to make money, they've had teas, and there's people who don't live here anymore who contribute to the church. They'll send a donation once a year or something to keep the little church going.
Yes, we do have a ladies auxiliary here. We've had it for many years. And I'm the president, and Josephine is the secretary, the treasurer. And we have other members who are not here today. And we meet once a month. And we have quite a little, and we raise money to keep this chapel going, but little different things to do amongst ourselves. You might have a little pantry sale just amongst ourselves, or we'll just have all kinds of different things, or maybe waste measurements and things like that. the weigh-in we call it, but anyway, that's how we raise money to keep this, help to keep this place going. So,
And we've used the church for, there was a family that lived in the neighborhood who's had 2 children that have passed away, and they were living in Ontario, but they had because they were cremated, so they brought them back here, and we had the reception here at the church. And when my dad passed away, we had the reception here at the church. So that was back in '87. So we never even thought of any place else to. I don't know. This is where we wanted to have it. So yeah. So this has been our center for all of us. I mean, Josie grew up on Brooklyn Road, and they called that Lower Middleton, and I grew up here. But everything was together. We had young people's. The men had what they called a brotherhood. We had church every Sunday. We had Christmas concerts, Easter concerts. There was one lady in the neighborhood, her name was Mrs. Jackson. She used to make all our little outfits that we wore, for our Christmas pageants and all that kind of stuff. So it was very active. This is what
Every year we celebrate African Heritage Month. We have special services in this chapel. We have church services on the 2nd and 4th Sunday of each month. During African Heritage Month, we try to do something special. And so Rhoda sets up a display for us for materials that she has collected over the years. And when you were doing a daycare, you also did presentations for African Heritage
yes,
Month
I did.
to people in town and to groups that would come here, school kids that wanted to know about African heritage. We also, Pastor Teresa has also invited special speakers to come from Halifax this year. So we've had a special service on the past Sunday, the 13th, where a message was brought to us by Reverend Goff from Halifax, Lower Sackville. And we're going to have another special speaker on the 4th Sunday, which will be the 28th, I believe. 27th, something like that. I can't, it's 13 and 7 is 27th will be our next service, and there will also be a special speaker, and we will try and do like a 2-minute or whatever, 10-minute presentation of somebody from the congregation or somebody from the community wants to do as a presentation to honor somebody during Black History Month. So that's what we do for Black History Month, but then during the year too, we also do special things like
our anniversary service.
we have our anniversary service in October, where we also have a special speaker and special music, and we've been really fortunate that people in the African United Baptist Association are willing to come to this little church. I think it's the smallest church in the group.
I think so.
They come and they bring a message, and we invite people from Gibson Woods, Inglewood, Weymouth, all the other communities, and they will come and join us, and we have a special celebration in October. That's our anniversary service. We also have refreshments afterwards. We haven't been able to do that for a couple of years because of COVID. But it's a good time of fellowship and coming together of other communities as well. So.
And I want to say And I want to say on Remembrance Day, we also celebrate our men who have been in the military, and we have the charts up here to demonstrate the fact that our men celebrated in the Canadian forces as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like for that to be regarded as,
That's
they were part of Canada's military.
In fact, wasn't your dad part
My
of
dad was part of the
construction?
#2 construction company.
Yeah.
And he's at the Black Cultural, the big picture they have at the Black Cultural Center. So, and they're having a big thing this summer, well, hopefully, with COVID and all that. They're having a big celebration in Pictou, because that's where the men went out, was from Pictou.
Right.
They had them in Halifax, and they all went to Pictou landing there, and they went off to war that way. So they're having a commemorative thing that this summer we hope. So we're all hoping to go.
Good.
And there's been some books that have been written. Calvin Ruck wrote about the second construction company. I don't know if any of those books are available.
You know, I've got that one of those books home. I must bring it up here. Okay.
Yeah, I've got one myself.
You there?
Actually, my niece just read it. She couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Was that right?
Yeah, she'd never read it before.
Oh.
And so she just like probably a week ago.
Mm.
So she was asking questions and stuff. So, you know, that's something else that, and probably a lot of these men were in that, because when they joined the service in the First World War, the blacks were not allowed to be with the whites. So that's why they call them number 2 construction company, because they went ahead of the troops and cleared the land, built the bridges or whatever that needed to be done. They were not allowed to have guns. That, you know, like they're the ones that go ahead.
They couldn't have guns.
They couldn't have guns because the white men thought they might shoot them.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a black leader, they had a white leader.
Mm.
You know, their captain, or I don't know the ranks that well, so I can't tell you that part, but he was very nice to them. That was, I wish I could remember his name, but it is in the Black Cultural and it's in the book. But he was very kind to them. But the matter of fact, that's why they make so much fuss over this, is the number 2 construction company, is the fact that they were not given guns. They were given shovels and hatchets to do their work in World War I. So that's kind of an important thing. As a child growing up, that's what I remember. I remember our picnics. We used to get together and go out to Swickers Lake. All the neighborhood people all went out, and everybody brought food, and we shared our food and swam and, you know, played ball and whatever.
Tell them how you got out there, though.
Oh yes, well, her husband Ron was the I don't know if I had a better word. I was going to say garbage man, but
They call it waste management.
waste management now.
Environmental
Which is
waste.
great. But he used, like, Ron was the first one in here, and he took his truck, and you might have hosed it down, I don't know,
Oh, I think it
but
was
we'd
before
take the
that.
pews from out here, because there's no pews now, but he put those on the back of the truck and load us all up, and we'd go to Circus Lake. No seat belts, no nothing. And we'd be singing away, so we were happy. You're always happy when you don't know what's going on.
Well, times were pretty different then, though. I mean, we gathered together and everybody contributed. And it was like the parents, the community, even the people who didn't have children.
Yes.
They donated.
Yep.
Everything was always done to, it was like take care of the children.
Yeah.
And to make sure that we had a good life.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
I mean, when we stop and think about it, about how we grew up, there's nothing but good memories. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't always, you know,
Yeah.
roses and things like that, but there were hard times, of course, but we got through those. And
As
the
a
things that we
family and
remember
as
are the
a
good
community,
times,
yeah.
like going to camp or going to young people's and things like that.
Yeah.
We used to go to camp, and I think initially the one that I remember is when we went to, I think it was Pinehurst or Connell Lake or one of those places. The minister that was here at the time worked for the Greenwood base, and Greenwood was always good to us.
Yes, they were.
donated bell
Thanks
tents,
for us.
mattresses, whatever we needed to set up that camp for children at that time.
Right.
They donated the equipment, and then some of the ladies from here and some of the ladies from Inglewood would cook
Yeah.
and provide counseling.
Yep.
You know, camp was just,
Oh, it was the best.
it was.
It was the best. I look forward to it every summer.
Yeah.
We went for, I don't know, 7 or 10 days, I
Yeah, I
can't
think it
remember. And you couldn't wait. Like, we were sitting on the doorstep, ready to go, you know, like hours before we were gonna leave. So, yeah, what I was gonna say when she was saying about the community, every mother was your mother. Like, you know, like, if you were down the street, well, the mothers down there, they would tell you to do something, you did it. You know, or if they're up here, my mom or Alan, or, you know, whatever, wherever you were, you weren't far away from family. And this was your family, because everybody looked after you. If you had a scraped knee and you were in front of her house, her mother would come out and patch you up, you know. So that's the community that we grew up in. That's how we, you know, like Josie says, we only have fond memories. Sure, I'm sure there was bad ones too, but I don't mean bad as in bad, but I mean like
challenges. I mean, every community has challenges and that sort of thing, and families have difficulties, but it wasn't made a big deal of. That I can remember.
No.
It was just, okay, this is what's happened, this is, how are we going to help, you know, this family when they're in trouble, or when they have, maybe a death or whatever.
Right.
It didn't matter whether it was a death or a birth. I remember talking about the doctor coming to the house to deliver a child. Well, the doctor came and had a nap while the neighbor helped my mom have a baby. I mean, a lot of us weren't even born in a hospital because that's the way it was. We were born at home.
Oh, right, exactly.
And so it was always the community, families helping each other out wherever they were needed.
I have adult children that are still talking about camp days.
Yes.
Still talking about the good old days at camp.
We all, I mean, I just don't, that was just the best. Like, I don't, like I said, I don't have fond memories of camp too. I went to camp, I was 7 years old and we went to PEI. I remember that.
We used to go to PEI.
Yeah, and my dad, he was one of the drivers, and I remember years later somebody saying to me, well, if your dad drove you to the boat, I said, well, he drove whatever amount of people could fit in the car, and you weren't, you know, you didn't want to go, I mean, like, you went, and you left your father? I said, yes, that's where you drove us to, was to the boat. We're going to camp. You know, I'd never been to camp before.
And it didn't matter if you, I mean, there were brothers and sisters and cousins and relatives. I mean, everybody sort of looked out for each other.
Everybody else,
We were all kids together. As long as we were all together, we looked out for
I
each
can
other.
tell you a story, but I don't think my brother would be very happy about it, so we'll leave that one alone. But, yeah, he, when we all, like, because I went first, and then the next year Beth went, and then 2 years later Randy came. But Randy wasn't all that enthused about going to camp. He didn't want to be away from mom, so he was trying to be not such a good boy. But I just, and
the way that we grew up, I think, I remember, like you said, the community raised us, because wherever we went, parents were looking out for us, and it didn't matter if you were here or in Lower Middleton. If you were out and you were doing something you weren't supposed to do, the parents would discipline you.
Yeah.
And every parent expected that, I think.
Yes,
that was
they did, yeah.
acceptable. They looked out for you because they wanted you to be safe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were doing something that was unsafe, then they would correct you and say, you know, you can't do that. I think that's one of the things that has kept the communities close, is because we always looked out for each other and looked out, especially for the children. We always felt safe in our communities. And we always seemed to have the freedom to roam and play and make up games and things like that and do what we wanted to do. It was our way of life, and maybe it wasn't fancy. There were no fancy sports equipment or anything like that. We'd get a piece of wood and have a baseball bat and, you know, make up our rules and
make up our rules the way we wanted. We didn't care what it was, no. Like I said, we used to have hopscotch contests. We used to have riding your bicycle contests. We were always making everything into a contest. And, you know, the boys against the girls, because the boys never wanted us to play on their side. So you played baseball and you got all the boys and you got all the girls. Some girls could hit the ball, some couldn't, you know, like, but and that was what we would spend
Well,
hours.
there was only one bike in
Well,
the
yes,
whole family.
and it didn't matter. Mine was, it was pink with blue fenders,
Uh-oh.
and that's all you could have because, you know, you really didn't know how to drive a bike yet.
No.
So that's all you had. There'd be my dad driving around on this little bike and trying and saying that, you know, you got to keep your speed up, you know, and you got to keep your balance, you know,
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. And so when you really got a bike, it was one color. But that was for everybody, and Randy said he wasn't gonna ride on a big bike. Dad said, if you want a real bike, you're gonna be riding on this, this is what you're gonna learn on.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna learn on a brand new bike that you're gonna smash up.
Yeah.
So he rode it.
Yeah, and I remember when we were growing up, well, because the boys were older, there was a boys' bike, and a boys'
Bike
bike
has that bar.
So you sort of had to stick your legs
Through.
through and drive it side saddle
Yeah.
for the girls to learn how to drive,
Yes.
ride a bike. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
That was just too much.
Absolutely.
But we learned, I'll tell you, we learned how to ride a bike.
Yes, we did
And
so.
everybody had to take turns because, like I said, it was only one bike.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I know there was only 3 of us, but there still was only one bike.
yeah.
So it had to get passed down from person to person. So.
So how did y'all learn to drive a car?
And I know part of this is for Black History Month. So probably one of the things we need to talk about is about racism. And there was a few things at the start with as a child, a little kid that started school. But as far as anything else, as I grew up, we always knew, like there was only one barber in town that would cut black people's hair. There was only one pharmacy that most people would go to, you know, like that kind of thing. But as far as, I don't know, like anything else, like going to grocery stores or, you know, because we didn't leave the street very much.
No.
You know, we weren't allowed to run around town, like, you know, like we played here, we didn't, you know, there wasn't anything downtown anyway except for the schoolyard, so.
Well, and that's the thing, I mean, we're talking quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, and there was also one thing that did happen back then when I was growing up as a young person, teenager. The theater, if you went to the theater, if you were black, you had to go upstairs, you weren't allowed to sit downstairs.
Oh,
That
that was,
happened in my
see,
time.
we did not know that.
Yeah, that happened in my time.
So that's her time.
Okay.
So, and in my time, that never happened.
No.
We could sit wherever we want, except for you couldn't sit with the boys. You know, she said, Mrs. Marshall separated that. She wasn't having none of that stuff going on. But, yeah, is that right? Now, see, Rhoda, I never knew that.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
didn't
pretty
know.
bad.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I was saying before too is, growing up, when we went to school, there were some teachers that I remember and I always felt they were excellent teachers. And I didn't feel like they treated us any differently
No.
than the other students. They
No.
were there to teach us and they taught us all
Yeah.
to the best of their ability, and they helped us as much as they could.
Yes, exactly.
I never felt discriminated in any way like that.
No.
Although I think there was some, but we were involved with sports a lot.
Yeah.
And we always
Yeah.
played sports with everybody, and if we were doing something where we had to go out of town, we all just
Went on a town.
got in the same vehicle and
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
to do the sports and stayed wherever we were billeted and.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. And I
it
never
wasn't
had
a
any, I never had either, well, I'm like you, I never had any
Mhm.
problem being billeted because I was the only black kid on the team. And I guess in saying all that, I think that we were brought up that we didn't know a difference.
That's right.
Yes.
You know, we didn't think we were any different than you. You know what I mean? So it would have to be outwardly shown to us, like outwardly shown. Like we knew that John Palmer would cut the boy's hair and the other gentleman wouldn't.
Mhm.
You knew that, so you didn't go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you,
It-
I don't know how
I
to,
guess, I guess we just didn't make it an issue.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, we didn't make it an issue, it's right, we didn't bother to,
But at the same time, like, I didn't realize until after I retired and came home and I was reading about Black history in this province, I did not realize that there were segregated schools where
No.
only black kids went.
Right.
Because we always went to the school.
School
in
that was
town.
here. Yeah.
You know, to the Macdonald Museum and the high school and all that, we always
Yeah.
attended school that way. Another thing I think that I found out was I didn't, there was an incident that happened here in Middleton School where there were never black teachers
No.
anywhere.
Oh, yes.
But when they hired one, and this has been, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe when they hired Mrs. Browning's daughter, and there was a boycott, and I was totally shocked. Like,
Oh, that was at
happened
the
in-
elementary school, right?
Yes,
Right.
I was totally shocked that that happened, but apparently they got it straightened out, so,
But she did leave here.
yeah.
Yeah,
She
she
didn't
went,
stay
she went up to
here.
Kempville, I
Yeah.
think, or
So,
something. That's right, I forgot about that.
I mean, it was there, but, like I said, when I was going to school, I didn't feel like
No.
that I was.
We didn't feel that we were different.
Yeah.
And our teachers didn't treat us any, we didn't go to any different bathrooms. We all drank out the same water
Water
fountain.
fountain,
You know, like when you went out at recess, you lined up, get your drink of water and
Yeah.
moved on, like.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's saying good things about those kids' parents. There might have been one or two that might have said something or, but not as far as that. It would be like name calling or something like that, but no, really, I think we were pretty lucky. I don't know what. Community. We as children were taught by our parents that it was very important to go to school and that your studies were important. And if you wanted to get anywhere in this world, you needed to get your education. And it didn't matter what it was, but it didn't matter. You had to go to school, you had to do your homework. Like every night we'd have supper, and right after supper we did our homework. Now, didn't matter whether you're having a tough time or not. This is the time you're doing your homework, you did your homework, and then you went to bed. There was no, we were never allowed to go upstairs in our bedrooms and study. I mean, when we were older, but like as a growing up, we always did it at the dining room table. And you know, your mother or father, whoever, was there watching you, or helping you with your spelling bees, or helping you with your multiplications, or you know. So education was there. I don't think there's one parent in this neighborhood or in Lower Middleton that didn't drill that into our heads.
Stay
If
in
you
school.
want to do anything, you need to stay in school,
Absolutely.
and
Get
you know,
an
so you
education.
get some, so that you can go to university. Wasn't all that. They didn't really put that out there.
No, just to get grade 12.
It was getting, yeah, to get your grade 12, and then you could do whatever you wanted after that.
Yeah.
And that's, I remember my mom saying, now that's my job, to get you through to grade 12. After that, you're on your own. You know?
And sometimes I think earlier, it might have been grade 10, because in grade 10 you could go into a vocational school.
Yes,
and
right,
get a trade.
exactly. Yes, that's true, yeah.
But grade 12 gave you even more advantages, and I think they recognized that education was the key
Yeah.
to helping us develop and you know, go out into the world and
And make a life for
survive
yourself.
and, you know,
Yeah.
make a living and that sort of thing. So they recognized that early, because every family, I think, it was stay in school.
Stay in
Get
school,
an
that's all you
education.
ever heard, you know.
Yeah, that was very important.
And the only.
That was very important.
And the only problem, well, like we did, we stayed in school and, you know, graduated high school or whatever we did, but the jobs weren't here. And that's why the community is as small as they are now. Because everybody left to go either, they went to Halifax, they went to Montreal, Toronto, I went to Winnipeg. You know, like because the jobs just weren't here. Like you didn't see anybody getting any jobs like in the banks or like she says, like a teacher, or you know, nobody was a pharmacist
Even
or
nurses, apparently,
and even nurses, yeah.
one of the things was you could be trained to be a nurse, but
you couldn't go
You
anywhere.
wouldn't be hired in Nova Scotia to work.
Yeah.
So they had to go to Montreal. Which
Yeah.
That
Where
was
that's
another
where they
thing that
went.
I found out when I came.
Yeah.
Because when I left here and I went out west, and I figured, this is Canada. I'm a Canadian.
Yeah,
I can go anywhere I want.
right, exactly.
And that's not exactly the way it was, but I did actually end up going out west and getting a job and working. And I think that probably might have been a turning point, because a lot of people, like you went to Winnipeg,
Yeah.
and people started going out west, not just because they had to, but because they wanted to.
Right, they
go
want to see
someplace
more,
else.
yeah.
They wanted to see more of the world. And
But as a young, like, when, like you're talking 18, 19-year-olds, I can, we can probably go right straight through the neighborhood. And everybody, I can't think anybody that stayed.
not in this town.
No, they did not. There's nobody of all the children, of all the families that lived in the neighborhoods, and all the kids, because most people had 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. I don't think anybody stayed in Middleton.
Well, no, I can't say that, because the job that I had as a lab tech was actually a government-sponsored thing at the time. It was a
Oh, yes.
program that was going on. The government would sponsor you to take training, and then your obligation was to work in that hospital that sponsored you for 2 years. After you got your certificate,
Yeah.
then after that you could go wherever you wanted. So I took that course, I went to Halifax, got my training, and then I came back here to Middleton and worked for 2 years at Middleton Hospital in the lab.
Right.
And then I decided that time for adventure
And I
and
feel
go
like
west.
that's true.
Kathy Small worked in the lab for years too, Kathy Perry Small.
Alma.
Yeah, but that was afterwards.
Yeah.
That was,
She was there the same time I was, but in the
Oh, was she?
70s. Yeah,
In
she
the
worked as a
70s too?
secretary
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and she had,
And it was good to see
yeah.
her there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Daisy Harper then was working in the kitchen as a
kitchen,
cook.
yeah,
Yeah. So there were more things opening up at that
then,
time.
at that time.
That was in the
Because
70s.
Marie didn't, she was a nurse and she couldn't get a job here.
Yeah, exactly.
So she ended up going to Montreal.
Yeah.
And where she, so all the, it kind of cut off at us.
I think
And
so.
only we're back because we're retired now. We retired back here because we wanted to, And so that's I think that's an important fact. We've got people all over, Now, some people have moved back or are retired close, like they might live in Halifax or someplace like that. But yeah, it just wasn't here.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, and really it hasn't improved all that much.
But I think at one time, though, when Ronnie and Diane and Kathy and those guys, they all went to the community college, didn't they?
Yes, Debbie, Diane.
I think maybe when it first opened,
Yes.
there were opportunities, and so there were black students from Middleton, Weymouth, because
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah, there was a lot from Weymouth.
Oh yeah, there was a lot from Weymouth, yeah.
and because it was offering trades.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they promoted it.
Yes.
Yeah, but then after they got their trade, they left.
They left,
They had
yes. For
so
jobs.
So if you wanted to be a secretary or if you want to be a carpenter or, they had, all the trades were here, like mechanics and all that kind of stuff, so. Because the opportunities haven't been here, that they've moved other places, I just, actually yesterday, I was at the community college and I met a young girl there. Actually, it would be Shirley Parker's niece, and she's taking her LPN at the school.
Okay.
So even at that, you don't see the black students anymore. Around, at the community college, at the high school. I just did a thing with one of the teachers, Pelly Almore, and she said there's not the students. They there might be two, and that's minimal for a community. But there's nothing to bring a black family to Middleton for. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's one more thing. There's one member left of this original community, and she's one of the oldest ones, and that's Cassie. She's
Yes.
the oldest member of this community,
Yeah.
one left, original of this
Yes.
community.
Yeah, original, yeah.
I think she's, what,
But
94, isn't she?
No, she's gonna be 96, I think.
In
In April,
Mhm.
yeah.
She-
Yeah, but she spent a lot of years away.
Oh, yeah, she
You know,
is.
like she was born and brought up here, but you know, she spent a lot,
Montreal.
yeah, in Montreal. So, but yes, and my mom's 94, so
Yeah.
hey, you know,
That's pretty good.
they're getting,
Yeah.
they're it's yeah. So there are a few elderly members, people in the neighborhood that have been here. So
This is gonna be good to know that there's a community up here.
yes, and
That community
that's
up
what I
here.
wanted to get across was the
Mhm.
fact that this is a community.
That's right.
And although it may be smaller now, it is still a community. It's
Mhm.
our community.
I just want to say that it's been nice to be able to sit and have this conversation about our communities so that young people coming up, people, even the people that we've grown up with that don't live here anymore, they can watch this video and
That's what
they'll have recollections too of how things were for them growing up in these communities. I think it's important for us to do this, to preserve it, to make sure that it's there for future generations, but for us as well, because we grew up here and we're happy that we grew up here and have great memories.
And to add on to what Josie had just said, I was thinking that we want to preserve this so that, like, maybe not that our next generation or the generation after that this community was a viable community with a whole lot of people. I think people now think of this as just because a nursing home is at the end of the street. You know, they don't think of this as a community that a lot of us grew up in.
Yeah.
So having this video will show that we did have a community. I'm very happy to be living here now, and was happy when I was a child living here. I know that when this video gets out,
Yes.
you know, like, we'll be sending it to all our family and friends
That's
and
right.
whoever we can
Exactly.
find on our mailing list. They'll all be getting it. And I'm sure that they'll probably think, oh, geez, I wish I had known, you know. We've tried to get in contact with as many people as we could for pictures and things like that. And like I had a talk with Dottie yesterday, and she was helpful
Yes.
with some of the things that I didn't know. But I think doing this, and I just want to give credit where credit is due. I give credit to Josie. Josie has showed me so much in these last month that I never even knew. I mean, I know things that I remember as a child, but Josie has she's got the facts and figures, you know, and like I said to my mom about pictures and stuff like that. Well, she doesn't know where they are or nothing, you know, like we don't, all I have is my memory. So, but Josie has pictures, she has minutes of meetings, she's done a lot of hard work. So in doing this video, we're helping, we've done our part, but Josie deserves the credit. And I just want that out there. So, I mean, we've helped her, but she's done, and she said, you know, she's had information before so that we were able to draw on for this video. So, I just want to say thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, because if you hadn't initiated this, we wouldn't be here today, because even though I've got the facts and the figures and all the rest of it, if it just sits here, it's not going anywhere. So
Right.
now,
That's true.
this sort of establishes the beginning, where
Right.
people can look at it and hopefully they'll add to it.
That's
And
right,
we can
exactly.
just build on this. So
Right.
I think that the fact that you were willing to get on the board of the museum, there's a lot of hard work out there, I know.
Yeah.
But somebody had to put themselves out there and start something like this, and so I want to thank you for doing that, because.
Well, I appreciate that. And I
It's
want
important.
this community to be, preserved. We want, people to know that we were here, that we lived in this town, that we now are good people and that we're productive and we do things and, so yeah. Well, anyway, I thank everybody
I'm
then.
just excited that we're doing this video because I know when people come home in the summertime, we can ask them to go up to the museum and just have a good time of remembrance. And I know the families would love to see what we're talking about and know that they were a part of it, or their grandmothers and grandfathers and all of that. So it's exciting to document this because of that. That it'll always be there for everyone who wants to see it. So that's my thought about that.